Go.
Okay.
Good afternoon and welcome. We have Dr. Aaron Reich with us, who is currently running for place 3 with Arlington School Board. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
We have Javier Nahara here to direct our questions.
Dr. Reich, how are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How about yourself?
Great, thank you. Are you ready for your first question?
Sure.
Okay, this is a question for 3 minutes. Tell us a bit about yourself, your background, experience, connection, and or interest in Arlington schools, and your reason.
So yeah, I'm excited to be seeking re-election again for the Arlington ISD Board of Trustees. I have been on the board since 2009. I have served in every board leadership capacity, including president, which I'm the immediate past president of the board. I have led and chaired every board committee, as well as served on those committees. Started the governance committee of the board. So I've been very active from a leadership standpoint on the board. From a personal standpoint, I am married to my wife of almost 28 years now. We have 2 beautiful children that are products of AISD, went through Pope, Shack, and Lamar, and now are pursuing wonderful opportunities in college. And my wife and I, we have a couple of businesses here in Arlington. And so for me, it's always been about doing things that create the opportunities for children, but it's also how well our schools go is how well our community goes. And from an economic viability standpoint, I think that's very important. And so I have been vested in creating strategic partnerships and collaborations and doing everything I can to connect the district to the community and make sure that the district I serve as the conduit between the district and the community. And I want to make sure that the district is meeting the expectations that we have as a community and performs accordingly. So that's really been a good focus. We were the school board of the year in 2014 and 2015. I was part of that culmination, which grew from coming together, creating the district's first ever strategic plan. Out of that plan has created several bonds and really a refacing of the district all across Arlington, and created many opportunities and removed the access to the barriers for those opportunities for our children, which is really where it's at. Arlington ISD is a 73% economically disadvantaged district, which means there's a lot of people in our community that need things that we should not have barriers for them to get to. And education is a great equalizer. So the more we can do to get those opportunities developed and accessible, the better we're going to be. So it's been an absolute honor and privilege. I'm going up again, specifically now. I don't want to stop, especially in the middle of COVID. Experienced leadership matters, and it's really come in handy over the past several months. And I'm more than happy to share that if the time allows.
Very good, thank you. Next question, this time for 2 minutes. According to the Texas Education Agency, Arlington ISD is comprised of more than 70% economically disadvantaged students. What experience do you have in working with Title I campuses and or economically disadvantaged students and their families?
So I'm very active along those fronts. That pretty much steers the majority of my focus and attention. I have direct experience coming from Pope Elementary. We were a Title I campus. We went to Title I when I was there. So I have direct experience as a parent. As a trustee, I have experience from all over the district. People don't necessarily realize, because I'm not one to really toot my own horn, so to speak, but Sam Houston now has more than $30 million of renovations and upgrades to it. And that was really because of my instigating. I was very unhappy, displeased that Sam was kind of kind of the stepchild, if you will, of the district when I got on the board, and I didn't want that. I thought that was wrong. And when at the time, Principal Benavides took over. I met with him. I spoke with him as an example on and off the record. I was there all the time assessing what needed to be done. And I became the instigator and the champion as an example for that school. It's one of many examples. We just don't have enough time. That ignited the rest of the board and the superintendent to get behind that school. I worked with, at that time, Councilman Rivera for District 3 to get the city engaged and create collaborations, and he activated and got a lot of help and a lot of visibility for that school. Since then, there's been great opportunities that have been created there, and it's just so absolutely necessary. I always tell people that don't know that statistic about our schools that's why I'm telling them, because if they don't know, then our community is going to look like that as a whole in the future, and we can't and don't want that to happen. We need to help them and raise them up.
Very good. Question number 3, also for 2 minutes. What is your perspective on the district's COVID-19 return to school plan?
My perspective on the plan is that the plan is constantly evolving. I'm involved in that plan and the discussions around that plan. Some of that is from pressures from the state and things that we want to do that we're not allowed to do essentially from the state. I always tell people that I feel like I'm kind of governing with one arm tied behind my back sometimes, because we want to push the envelope and do some things, but then we can't because TEA says, no, you can't. So the plan right now, I have a lot of questions that are asked of me. What about August? Everything's going to be good, right? And I am the first to say, I don't know. I want to say yes. Oh man, yes. We just don't know yet. We just were able to pull off mass vaccination of all of our teachers and staff today at esports. That will certainly help in moving the needle in driving what I would say is consumer confidence, both for the staff as well as the parents and the children. So that'll get us back closer to normal, because the reality is the model that we have in place right now, for maybe about 10% of the kids, it's working and they're thriving. The rest of them, it's not a good experience. It's just not. And we've got to do everything we can to get back to that in person. You just can't have the same opportunities, the relationships, the soft skills that children receive, the social emotional benefits. You just can't do that through these little squares on a screen. And there's plans in place to try to address that, increasing summer school offerings and kind of slingshot remediation approaches at the beginning of the year in August. But the plan, it's always pivoting at this point.
Thank you. Question number 4, also 2 minutes. What suggestions do you have for recruiting and or retaining teachers and other professionals in the district, especially those with, for instance, that are highly effective or in fields such as math or science?
Sure. So several things there. One is, which is a big one, is we have to be competitive on compensation. And over the years, being very fiscally prudent, we slowly but surely raised up all the pay bands across all the years of experience levels into that about top 10, top 15 range. And then HB3 came along, and although it was great with the funding, the funding was disproportionate amongst all districts. And as a result, we didn't really fare that well. And in literally 1 year, it erased all of those 10 years of progress that we made. And so we knew we couldn't stay the course that way. We were already losing people. You know, you're talking about specific hard to fill areas. I'm looking at that as well as all other areas. It just wasn't a good thing. And so we had to make the decision, did make the decision to ask the voters for some assistance there to change and correct that situation. And so now everybody is essentially in the top 10 range across all paid years of experience, which is great. There's lots of things that we can do with our STEM academies that we have at the elementary and high school level to work with our industry partners like Lockheed Martin, et cetera, to coalesce with them to bring people in as much as possible. TCC, UTA, the same type of thing. And we have those relationships and we'll continue to forge those. Recruiting, retaining, rewarding the best is part of our strategic plan. And it's just a matter of creating opportunities to bring people in, as well as once they're in, creating leadership pipelines for them, which we're rolling out in the district. That's for admins, that's for teachers. And it's very thoughtful approach on it so that people feel good about the place that they're working in as well.
Thank you. And we go to number 5, 2 minutes as well. To be effective, a board member must gain support from other board members for his or her issues. Explain how you plan to get other board members to support your goals.
So essentially, in order to do anything in this position, you have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to show that you are true in who you are and what you do. And what I've always said is check your ego at the door is our approach really as a board. And that's always been my mantra. And I don't care if somebody else gets the credit for it, which has happened many times. It was my idea. Am I ever saying anything about it? No. The point is keep the eye on the prize, the eye on the goal and the outcome. And so people know that about me individually, and it's just having those conversations with people. Some conversations are difficult, but you've just got to talk it through and build. There's nothing to me about making what you hear maybe in politics in general is, oh, well, people make deals and I'll support you if you do this and you do that. We don't do that. I have tried to instill a culture with our board that we always take the higher road. We always keep our main goal in mind, which is fulfilling student achievement as much as possible. And as long as we stay focused on that, we don't get into the pettiness, the bickering, that type of thing. So it's really just being open and honest, and really being open and honest. The board as a group is a family, and just like in any family, there's dysfunction. And with that dysfunction comes, you got to talk it through, you got to talk it out. And so what I always try to do, and I think we do pretty well as a group, is to have a good face and lead by example out in public. And if there's things that we really need to talk about, we do it behind closed doors, one-on-one to work things out. But it's really few and far between that happens that way.
Thank you. And we move to question number 6, also 2 minutes. How does PTA, both council and locals, fit into your plan for your term on the school board?
PTA is an amazing force. It is absolutely needed that at the council level as well at each school that's blessed to have one, and each school that's blessed to have PTAs from other schools help them either try to get one started or just to help the teachers in that school for those kids. PTA is a vital link. That's our closest group of active advocate parents that are doing things not just for their own kids, they're doing things for the betterment of that school. And at the council level, it's for the betterment of the entire district. At the council level, it's so important to keep that line of communication open so that they know what's coming, what we're looking at, what we're thinking, to get their input. They are such strong stakeholders. And to me, I've used PTA members all the time as a barometer on, are we going the right direction? Are we staying the course? Or are we veering off and that type of thing? We can't do this together. This is a community effort to do this and raise up our schools. And really the PTA to me is the number one all on group to do that. And that doesn't mean that it's a kumbaya thing all the time. I've had, times where I've had some people on PTA say, hey, we're really mad about this. And so I want to know that. I want to hear that. And let's talk about that and see what we can do. And what I tell them, what I tell everybody is as a trustee, I can assert, I can inquire, and I can ask tough questions. But there's certain things that at the governance level, it's just hands off. It's really operations, but I can certainly provide the fuel and get the answers. And there's been many opportunities for that to happen over the years.
Thank you. We go to number 7, 2 minutes as well. What are your financial priorities for the district? Some examples given are, for instance, reduction in class size, improved technology in the classroom, maintaining current programs, increasing school employee compensation, just a few examples, but what is your priority?
So yeah, financial priorities, we've got to be specific and efficient with what maximizes the opportunities for the students the most. I already talked about compensation. That's certainly a high priority. Along with that, that helps that budgetarily is having a very clear focus on staffing ratios so that we at each campus don't have a situation where we're having extra individuals that are on staff that we don't have any students for, and that used to be the situation, and it's hard, but through a lot of creativity we're able to adjust that ratio and flex and have people move around in the district where we keep that under control. So that's certainly a big priority. The other one to me is absolutely on those opportunities that are for the kids, our specialized programs, whether it's on the dual language fine arts, STEM, leadership. There's so many that are priorities, right? Our athletics and our fine arts, they are absolutely priorities. People say, well, why are you putting money into, oh, everything's all about football in Texas? Well, if we don't have that as something to look at, we might not have those kids participating at all, and we lose them. And our goal, to me, anything we can do from a budgetary standpoint to increase the likeliness that those kids are going to stay in school, stay engaged in school, and graduate greatly prepared for the future, that's where the dollars have to be vested. So there's only a finite number of dollars, so it's a tough job every June when we do that budget.
Thank you. And we move to number 8, also for 2 minutes. What do you believe your relationship should be with local city and county officials, and how could or should the board achieve this?
So, gosh, how can I squeeze all that into 2 minutes? I ran initially on the spirit of partnerships and collaboration to partner specifically with the city and the city council. I was literally the first trustee to reach out to our then mayor, Robert Cluck, and say, Bob, I want us to get together. I want to have some joint meetings. And we did do that, and it didn't necessarily go real well, but we did it, and we started the communication happening. We've got to engage our local officials, our state officials, and I've done a pretty good job of that. Being an advocate, I make sure that I am in constant communication as much as possible with our state representatives and our state senators, our county commissioners, judges, JPs. And there's been a ton of initiatives that have come because of keeping those lines of communication open. Again, we can't do it alone. There was an attendance improvement project that was part of a grant funding for the juvenile justice program with Tarrant County. That was a thing that I spearheaded with our county commissioner, and it was targeted again to help student achievement ultimately. But there's resources there that are beyond what we have internally as a district. So you've got to do that. The city is a partner. We make sure that we're always communicating so that we're on the same page. The city and the school district have different priorities, but there's some that are shared, and we've got to capitalize on those. It's all the same tax base, right? We've got to work together to do that. On the safety side, I started a project with our county sheriff to work on active shooter things and safety situations in our schools, and more. There's on and on. Out of time, sorry.
No
I could
problem.
keep going with that one.
No problem. We go to number 9, also 2 minutes. How much parental input should be allowed in decisions pertaining to students' curriculum, school environment, transportation, safety, accountability?
Okay, so I think for me as a trustee, I want to hear as much from parents as possible. How much say they get? Some of it is regulated from the state level. They just, the accountability system. I want parents to definitely have a voice, and part of that is through the PTA to be advocates with our representatives, with our state leaders. Accountability is a big issue. Definitely need that help. There's that. What I've always said is, for me to govern without having that input from the parents, how do I know? I know my own personal experience, but I hear that too often with elected officials. They think, and this is what they believe, and that's not what it's about. Whether I agree with something or not, if that's what the majority of parents are supporting and interested in, well, let's look at that and let's take a deep dive with that. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily the correct thing, but we've got to have the conversation, and we've got to explore what it is that is those hot issues. I'm trying to think of the other things that you mentioned, but to me, parents are really they're crucial. But there's certain things that, though they might have their own perspective as a single parent, single household, I should say. I have the view of the entire district, so I really want to get the input of a bunch of people so that I can see what the trends are, and I can also look at, is this really something that is part of the priority to change, or do we need to work on our communication so they understand this is why a certain thing is happening or why a certain thing is done.
Very good. And our final question, this is for 3 minutes. Dr. Reich, in closing, what will make you a better candidate for the school board than people that are competitors or running against you?
So what will make me, or what does make me a better candidate? Because those two are very different things. So what makes me a better candidate is my experience. During this time that we have with this pandemic, it's definitely a piece of it. But the pandemic, as we're all praying, we're starting to get on the other side of it, and it's not going to last forever. But the experience that I have has helped and will continue to move that needle. During our Snowmageddon that we had a couple weeks ago, it was myself, literally me alone, that was able to get to the governor to get him and the TEA to offer us 3 more risk-free days, if you will, penalty-free days, snow days. But at the time, it wasn't happening, and from the strain on the power grid, I thought, well, if 1,200 plus districts are okay to close, that's kind of a help, besides the whole strain on virtual learning and power outages for teachers and students. And so my point there is that's how I'm wired. I've always been that way. Everybody is a person. We're all people. And whether it's the governor or state representative or anybody anywhere, let's have a conversation. Let's just talk about this. And so it's really, my record is very strong with results and making connections. There's so many things that I do in relationships with the city and the CVB and the chamber and other elected officials that nobody ever hears about. And that's fine, but things get done. A lot of things get done. A lot of opportunities get created for people. What will make me a better candidate going through? And I could go on and on about what makes me a better candidate. What will make me better is just what I try to do all the time, which is keep my ears open and listen to people and have the conversations. Now we're in a time we're really focusing as a district on so many different things, but moving forward, we're really looking at the lens of the racial and social inequities and justice. And I'm on the phone all the time with people about having those kind of conversations and what can we do to really peel back the layer of the onion. And so whether it's on that topic or any, just being a listener and being out talking with people, it just strengthens who I am and gives me more pride and passion to move this ball and keep it going for the future. So I hope that addresses the question with 2 seconds left.
Dr. Reich, thank you so much for your time today. This concludes our time with you.